Last week I did a video on cheap cars that you could buy for under £1,000 that have incredible fuel economy, and in that video I said if you gave me 1,000 likes I'll do the same video again at under £2,000 instead. So thank you very much for 1,000 likes. Here I am making that video. If you want to see the same video again at under £5,000, you know what to do. Hit the like button, and 1,000 likes I'll make it at under 5k instead. But all 10 of these cars are incredibly good in terms of their fuel economy, their road tax, and just their general running costs. And at a time where the cost of petrol, living and basically everything is incredibly high, why not get yourself into a cheap car that you can run around and spend less money whilst driving? Don't forget I'm in the UK, so prices in other countries may differ, and whenever you buy any second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, road tax, all that good stuff is important to remember. Let me know in the comments down below what the cheapest car is that you've ever bought. The cheapest car I've bought is actually a joint one between my Polo and my Skoda. Both of them have been stunning cars. They are both £400. Let me know in the comments down below what your cheapest ever car was. Subscribe as well if you're new here. Without further ado, let's get into the video. But before we get into the video today, I need to thank and mention our sponsor, which is Skillshare, back again to support the channel. Skillshare have reached out and offered the first 1,000 people to hit the link in the description down below or the pinned comment their first month of Skillshare completely free. Now, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes and members from across the world, bringing people together to find their inspiration to take the next step in their creative journeys. If you're looking to learn a new skill or get inspired or get into something more creative, maybe like making YouTube videos like I do, then Skillshare is the perfect place to start. I personally use Skillshare to learn how to make better videos for you guys on YouTube. I recently watched Mayno's video titled Creative Filmmaking, Make a Better Video / Vlog with 12 camera angles, and it's really helped with my cinematography for when I go and do outside in-person videos. Similarly, I've used Skillshare to help me take better photos of cars and better photos of myself with cars so that I can make better content for you guys. So if you're interested in doing some more creative stuff or just looking for a way to better organize your life or any of those kinds of stuff, Skillshare is the right place to start your creative learning journey. And don't forget, the first 1,000 people to hit the link in the description down below or in the pinned comment will get their first month completely free. Make sure you don't miss out on that offer. Mass thanks to Skillshare again for sponsoring this video. Let's get back into it. Let's kick this video off with the third generation Renault Clio, which is a 1.2 litre inline-4 engine that produces 100 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 10.6 seconds. It's the joint quickest car on the list, but despite that it will still manage 51 miles per gallon and costs £135 per year in road tax. This is the perfect first car, but it can substitute as a family hatch instead, given it's not too small in size and it comes as either a 3 or a 5 door depending on how practical you need it to be. It's heavily related to the Nissan Micra, sharing the same platform, but somehow if you've been in both you'll likely agree it feels much more spacious as a passenger. It got a facelift in 2009 as well, with better, more modern equipment and a slightly sharper look. It's worth going for as you can get them within our price range. These start at around £1,800, so for £2,000 you'll be looking at a 2011 example, still with pretty high mileage. Reliability is generally very good on these, and the majority of Clio problems appeared on either diesel or RS models. A good friend of mine has had one for many years and it continues to give him trouble free motoring. Next up, it's the third generation Fiat Punto. It has a 1.2 litre inline-4 engine that makes 68 brake horsepower, which will get it from 0 to 60 in 13.9 seconds. It'll also manage 52 miles per gallon and costs £135 per year in road tax. It shares its platform with the Corsa D and is also related to the Mito, but I actually think the Grande Punto might be the best looking of the bunch in the right spec, particularly as a 3-door, but it does also come as a 5. One strange fact about these is that on release they had the highest level of safety standards, 5-star Euro NCAP, but when they were retested in 2012 they got 0 stars, likely because the safety standard of the Punto didn't get any better during the 7 years. These are listed for a minimum of around £1,500, and for £2,000 you'll get a 2011 model with 100,000 miles on the clock. Sadly, of all the cars on this list, it does have a few problems, with build quality being the leading cause, and there are some potentially dangerous issues with steering failure. Electrics are also known to be temperamental, but the engine isn't considered to be too bad. Taking 8th in this video we have the mini hatch, specifically the second generation R56 example in one spec, meaning it has a 1.4 litre inline-4 engine that makes 93 brake horsepower, which helps it to be that joint quickest car on the list, getting to 60 in 10.6 seconds. It's quoted as doing 53 83 miles per gallon and costs £135 in vehicle excise duty every year. Having been in and driven one of these a fair bit, I can attest them being very solid little cars with very decent premium interiors considering the money. The only negative is being 4-seaters rather than 5, so slightly less practical, but I would consider it to be among the nicest of the cars on the list, and if you get a first example, it's even more economical. You'll find these starting anywhere from around £1,000, and for £2,000 you get a 2009 model with 100,000 miles on it. There are some known gearbox problems with these, particularly on the 6-speed manuals, and clutches can be troublesome too. Interiors are also known to squeak and rattle a bit, and the aircon is known to fail. Next up we have a car with the highest tax bill on this list, the Skoda Citigo, with its 1 litre inline-3 engine that makes 59 brake horsepower and does 0 to 60 in 13.9 seconds. That tax bill comes out at £165 per year, but it will still manage 55 miles per gallon, not bad at all. It is the Skoda version of the VW Up and Seat Me, and I've shown in previous videos that it also is incredibly cheap to insure. It's not my cup of tea due to how small it is, and I'd maybe only recommend it as a city car that's focused around doing short journeys, but I do like how basic it is, with all the amenities you need as a driver, nothing more, nothing less, which help to keep the car cheap on release. This is one of the more expensive cars on the list though, and you'll only just get into a 2012 one for £2,000 with pretty high mileage. Reliability is solid on these, and though there are known gearbox and clutch issues, the car is generally very cheap to service and repair given how many cars it shares parts with. Just missing out on the top 5, we have the second generation Ford Ka, which hosts a 1.2 litre inline-4 engine that makes 68 brake horsepower and does 0 to 60 in 13 seconds. On top of that, road tax comes in at just £30 and it will manage 57 miles per gallon. The car shares its platform with the Fiat 500 and was actually developed and produced by Fiat for Ford in collaboration with the Fiat 500, so they are very similar cars, and the car is basically a 500 with a Ford badge. The biggest problem with it being related to the 500 is just how many common problems there are with the car, which transfer over to the Ford too. These range from engine problems to early onset corrosion to build quality issues, and there are too many for me to list in this video, so maybe this wouldn't be the cheapest car to keep running. That said, £1,200 is the minimum you'll find them listed for, and for 2k we'll be looking at a 2012 model with around 90,000 miles on the clock. So I hope you enjoyed this video. A reminder, 1,000 likes for the same video again under £5,000 instead, so just up that price range a little bit, and don't forget in the comments down below, let me know what the cheapest car you've ever bought is. Taking 5th on this list is the first generation Kia Picanto, which is a 1.1 litre inline-4 engine that produces 64 brake horsepower, which unfortunately makes it the slowest car on the list, getting it to 60 in just 14.6 seconds. That's not the end of the world though, as it will also manage 58 miles per gallon and VED costs just £30 a year. This car was weirdly marketed by Marcus Gronholm, the rallying legend, and it sits on the same platform as the first generation Hyundai i10. It got a facelift in 2007 which changed up the front in particular with the new grille, bumper and lights, and having driven one of these, the only potentially discomforting thing that I found was that the steering was quite light, suggesting it was focused around city driving rather than motorway miles. These start at around £1,000, and for double that you get a 2009 model with around 70,000 miles on it. Other than having to replace clutches early, owners on forums have been really positive about the reliability on these, which is helped by just how simplistic they are. With that in mind, it might be a good choice to go for to keep potential headaches away. In my sub 1k video, I mentioned both the Toyota and Citroen versions of this car, but I had to bring back the Peugeot 107 into this video, given how incredible the running costs really are. It has a 1 litre inline-3 engine that makes 68 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 13.7 seconds, plus it only costs £20 in tax per year and will manage 61 miles per gallon. So the Aygo, C1 and 107 were all built in collaboration, and given the car has a Toyota engine renowned for its reliability, you can ignore the Peugeot badge. It has the lowest breakdown stats of any sub-small class car, which means from a running cost perspective, this could be one of the best cars on the list. It's just worth remembering that you don't have to have that Peugeot badge either, as the Aygo and C1 are also available at this price range. The only things I would say let it down are the lack of practicality with a tiny boot, and some have complained about water leaking through the doors. You'll find these listed for £1,000 at the bottom end, and for £2,000 you get a 2006 example with around 80,000 miles on the clock, making this the oldest car on the list. On to the top 3 now, and And in third is the Hyundai i10, which has a 1.2 litre inline-4 engine making 85 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 11.8 seconds. You'll also benefit from paying just £20 per year in road tax and paying way less for your fuel too, given it will manage 61 miles per gallon. This is the sister car to the Kia Picanto we mentioned before, and it also had a collection of facelifts, with the most obvious one taking place towards the end of 2010, making the car look far more modern and still look okay today. I've also had the pleasure of driving one of these, and though they are very cheap feeling, they are definitely the definition of cheap and cheerful, as they also benefit from having quite a lot of technology considering their price. These do start at around £2,000, which is our limit for this video, but you'll get a 2011 example with around 80,000 miles on the clock for that kind of money. Like the Picanto, it's mostly reliable mechanically, but some of that great tech has been known to go wrong in some cases. The top two cars on this list are known as sister cars because they both share the same platform and engine, but I'll keep them separate like I did with the Igo and C1 in the last video on this topic. The Nissan Pixo takes second on this list as the sister car to the Suzuki Alto, with its 1 litre inline-3 engine which makes 67 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 13.6 seconds. It only costs £20 per year in road tax and will manage 65 miles per gallon. What made the Pixo famous for me was its appearance on Top Gear, where Clarkson, Hammond and May took it to town, talking about how many nicer cars you could buy for the same money as a Pixo, which sounds like one of my video titles to be honest. But the CL600 and 850 Ci that they bought would not be as economical to drive as the Pixo, which is pretty important in times like these. 1.5k is the minimum you'll get one of these for, and for 2k you'll get a 2010 model with 70,000 miles on it. Reliability is strong on these too, but owners do note they are quite cheaply built on the interiors. As I said, the Suzuki Alto is a sister car to the Nissan Pixo, and it takes the top spot in this list literally only because it's ever so slightly quicker to 60, managing it in 13.1 seconds thanks to that same 1 litre inline-3 putting out 67 brake horsepower. It's the same story in terms of tax and MPG too, 20 quid a year and 65 miles per gallon. Strangely, the Alto you see here is very different as a car to the Alto you'd see in Japan, as this car was actually built by Suzuki's Indian subsidiary, which also applies to the Pixo. So while it was built for the Indian car market under the name Maruti Suzuki A-Star, we got the Alto, which looks more similar to the A-Star concept car to make it more desirable in the European market. The car was actually built in response to the financial crisis in 2008 to combat rising fuel prices and costs of living, so it's almost as if it was built ready for that to happen again, i.e. right now. £1,500 would get you into one of these, and £2,000 would get a 2013 model with 100k on it. Reliability is the same as the Pixo, so it's literally a case of choosing which one you think looks better. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure the like button. As I said, 1,000 likes for the same video going under 5k, and let me know in the comments as well what the cheapest car you've ever bought is. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I put out 2 videos every single week. Massive thanks to the patrons as always for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. I'll see you in the next one.